Welcome to ABL Television. I'm here with our honorable, illustrious son of Ghana. And we are so grateful to have him here visiting London, United Kingdom. And across the global world, ABL Television, we are on 247 streaming live across the four corners of the world. Once again, the illustrious son of Ghana, young man determined to bring a change to the politics of Ghana, which will actually trickle down the rest of Africa. Let me welcome the honorable man himself, Kojo Bonsu.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to London.
Thank you.
And London is your home. I remember growing up, way back in the middle of the 90s, we started all these radio stations, in the trenches, and then the politics of Ghana taking shape and all that. And also, remember when the visitation of the man who brought the Fourth Republic, Jerry John Rawlings, Papa J himself, and then the 2000 elections. I remember when we were hosting all the flag bearers, including J. Kufo, who won. And then the 2008, and then Arthur Mills, you were there, you've been in the trenches. And here we are to see you back in your, should I say, growing up London, so it's good to see you back.
Thank you.
So are you more Ghanaian more than more in London? Because I thought we were all Londoners more than Ghanaian.
No, I wouldn't say that I'm more a Londoner. I've lived here before, but now I'm in Ghana.
Sure.
I'm doing everything in Ghana.
Sure.
I must thank you for bringing me on your sets.
Yes.
I'm excited and glad.
Great stuff. Listeners, we are also very excited. Today we are going to go serious into the politics. As you all know, the politics of Ghana and the politics of Africa is almost the same. Ghana really the litmus test for Africa because getting the independence from the Sub-Saharan Africa, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So whatever we do has a very serious implication and it reflects to the rest of Africa. And I'm so glad to have a young man here who is determined to bring a change. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of politics. First of all, people would like to know, who is Kojo Bonsu? Just give us a brief overview who Kojo Bonsu is.
I'm an optimist, a go-getter, a team player, a humble man, and a proud Ghanaian.
Wow. And I'm topping it up by consolidating all those attributes with a trailblazer and a game changer. Powerful. All right, so you heard it from the man himself. And so, Kojo, you've also held various positions in Ghana. Can you just touch on one or two of them, let's see? Or?
Yes, I was on the board of Ghana Oil, GOIL. And in the end, I emerged to become the MD.
Right.
Being the CEO, I rebranded GOIL.
Right.
GOIL was a company that nobody wanted to even deal with. People didn't want to buy fuel from them. So I changed it, I rebranded it, and now GOIL is doing so well.
Sure.
So that was one of my top work that I did.
Powerful. So from GOIL, which is, I would say, is really a landmark and a trademark because people see GOIL, they see Kojo Bonsu. And I know I've read a lot about the GOIL, the way you were able to rebrand it, and bring it to be the #1 in Ghana. Yeah.
That's right.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you.
So from GOIL, what happened?
From GOIL, I became the mayor of Kumasi City. And with the mayor, I'm sure if you go to Kumasi and ask I've done a lot of changes there.
Right.
And I'm also very proud of it because I did some good work. I sacrificed and did good work because that's my hometown. Kumasi is a place that I was born.
Sure.
My parents are true Asante Royals, so I wanted to do my best.
Great stuff.
I think I did all that I could do to make Kumasi a good place to live.
Yes, listeners in the catchment area, I'm speaking to Honorable Kojo Bonsu, formerly of GOIL, the man who changed and rebranded GOIL, and the man who became the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly head. And that came with some controversies, though. You know, can you expatiate a bit on that?
I don't see as any controversy. I mean, I always want to clear this thing, and I think people know it already. I was doing my job as a mayor
Right.
and an administrator. You have to do things very right.
Right.
And I did it. There was a gentleman who came to support the kind of work we were doing in Kumasi.
Right.
This gentleman worked with Produce Buying Agency. He was the deputy MD there. But he came to Kumasi and was given instructions as to structural changes and other things. And I didn't understand it, because when there's a collapse of a building or there's an issue,
Right.
I will be responsible.
Sure.
So I wouldn't allow anybody to come and give certain counter instructions that I gave. So I wanted to be sure. This gentleman was given instructions, and his instructions was being taken because he said he was a representative of nature. So all that I did was I wrote a letter to him to come and justify his position, so that tomorrow, if something happens, I have records to show. This was the matter.
Right.
And a lot of people thought I was not respectful, but I believe I was doing my job.
Sure. Okay, I think I was in Accra, and I really read the story. So I was following the ins and outs, and I was a bit, surprised that, as a rep of government doing your job, and then you get interrupted, But I saw you stood your ground, not just because you are here or you are one of us, but honestly, I was in Ghana, and I was like, why wouldn't, a government rep who is there to do his job be allowed to do his job? And there's so much interruption, and then finally you had to resign from that position.
Yeah.
And I was there, I was a bit, and I said, I'd like to take this matter up, and then, but there's few things we need to discuss, so probably we'll come back to that. Now let's go back to the GOIL, when you were in GOIL, the enormous and rich experience that you got from GOIL. Why do we have an issue with oil and petroleum in Ghana at the moment? I'm talking about the price hikes.
You see, the issue is that it's all finished products we import.
Right.
Our refinery is not the best now. It has a lot of challenges, so we import all the finished products. So obviously you're using dollar to go and buy it from another country. You're going to ship it, you're going to pay duty, so that is why. So it keeps going up.
Right.
And international oil prices are going up as well.
Sure.
So I think that is why the hikes.
Okay, fine. And now, so with your experience in the industry, why is it that we are now producing oil and we cannot at least get the refinery going? Is there any issue with that?
You see, let me explain something to you.
Because I know I'm talking about toll now.
Yeah.
And why we have a refinery and why can't we refine our oil?
See, the kind of
why
oil-
should we also import oil?
The kind of oil we have is totally different from what the refinery can refine.
Okay.
And the kind of oil we have has to go to other places for it to be refined. That is the whole secret.
Okay.
It's a different thing, and chemicals and other things are totally different. So we have an old oil refinery,
Okay.
and this one is a new one, so you have to go somewhere
Where?
before it can be refined. So that is the reason.
So why is it difficult sometimes for government to come out and explain to the people that, look, Tema Oil Refinery needs upgrading to be able to meet up the oil that we are producing? Don't you think that will also appease the masses and sometimes understand the...
It's always, it becomes very political because, the layman on the street thinks that we found oil, Ghana has oil.
Yeah.
So they think there's no point, as you're saying, to go and export your oil, to go and re-import some oil. So it's something different because our refinery totally needs a new upgrade to be able to
deal with
the one that we are producing. So that is where the issue is. And I believe, I just support all that you said.
Right.
That it we should explain to people so that they understand the whole thing. Because people don't understand why the oil goes out, we're making less money and that sort of thing.
Right. Okay, once again, you are listening to ABL Television. My name is Nana OSAGY4. I'm alongside my honorable guest, Honorable Kojo Bonsu. So, Kojo, I know you are for the people. I've seen your passion in the way you work. And because I've been close to you, I know I can speak with authority, the passion to affect change, you know. And I'm sure majority of the youth, the new generation, would like to have such leadership. So before I will continue, I want us to touch briefly on your ambition to become the flag bearer of the NDC. What made you decide to become a flag bearer?
I think being a mayor of Kumasi was what really prompted me. Because Kumasi is a problematic area. Kumasi is a very difficult, it has a lot of challenges. Now, if you go to Kumasi and you're able to run and you're able to handle things, I think you could do everything. So that is what pushed me, because I really came up to understand how to run a system of people. So I saw that look, I have the oomph, the brains to be able to run.
And the acumen to deal with all those things.
Yeah. So that is what really pushed me.
And Kumasi too has a diverse people in it.
Yeah.
Go every tribe in Kumasi.
It's a city that the inhabitants of Kumasi is about 2.5, 2.3 million. But in the daytime, we shoot up to about 4 million people.
Yeah, because a lot of people come
in and do business and pass through.
Yeah.
So you get the dynamics of it, and you understand that this is how people are managed.
Sure.
So that is what pushed me into, look, let me try. And if you go everywhere in the world, Boris Johnson was a former mayor of London.
Sure.
Most of the presidents have become mayor of cities before. So that is also part of it, that encourages me to be able to become the president of Ghana.
Yeah, because it's like it gives you a bit of the inside of running a bigger,
picture.
Yes. Okay, that's interesting. I brought the question of the mayoral thing or the KMA thing in there because I wanted to ask certain questions regarding the something that will do with leadership, right? So, supposing you get the nod and you become the flag bearer, and then let's say eventually you win the elections and you become the young premier of Ghana. How would you deal with the oil situation? Because the common man on the street, with your enormous knowledge in the field, will still not understand why the price of oil gets hiked. At the moment, we know the incumbent is not very popular when it comes to even that particular industry. With your enormous experience and with such power in your hand, how would you think you can deal with the oil crisis so that our normal and common truck drivers, taxi drivers, and ordinary market women will be able to bring their goods and people can have at least a sensible standard of way of living and in terms of transportation, petroleum products?
You see, I think there should be communication and education to the public of how all these hula baloo about oil and that sort of thing. One, we import a lot of finished products, and the crude that we refine goes out to be brought back into the country or goes out for sale, then we use the same money to import. That must be clearly stated for everybody to understand it. We have a system already where as long as they import the fuel, as the prices are going up, they have some price mechanism that you've done for the industry. That one, you have to make sure that everybody understands it so that nobody makes noise about it.
Sure.
And if you do that, then people would run with you because you have explained it to them. You've told them about the difficulties, the pros and cons of the whole thing that you're doing, advantages and everything, so that they know that you don't just get up and increase the fuel prices to create problems for them.
Right. So in this view, can you assure the public that if we give you the nod, you will come and make sure this particular issue is dealt with transparently without playing any politics with it, and be able to bring in certain, policies that might address the hikings so that we can have a bit of some...
with oil issues, it is not controlled by Ghana.
Right.
OPEC and oil prices are controlled outside. So the truth must be told.
Sure.
Okay? And you have to find new ways of using renewable energy so that we wouldn't go into serious importation of oil.
Sure.
My biggest thing is that I wanted to go back to nuclear. Kwame Nkrumah started it, but we haven't done anything about it. If we are able to go nuclear, I know the Western world doesn't like nuclear energy because they tell you that you can't manage it, you can't run it. But Ghana can do it because we have a lot of new atomic engineers, atomic energy in there, so that we can bring it to use because that is where power will be cheap for us.
At least, something, I'm so glad that you brought up the nuclear energy thing. If we are not going to develop any nuclear bomb, we just want to develop nuclear for energy, for industrialization, electricity, medicine, and all those things. I understand how the world games play, especially the Western world will have a case with us, and why should an African country want to develop a nuclear? But I think they need to leave us alone, so that at least we can coordinate with the IAEA or whatever they call them, those atomic agency people, to supervise, so that at least that point that you've made can come in fast, because Ghana already had a foundation that was laid down, which Kwame Nkrumah laid down, so that this nuclear energy can come in and industrialize the whole country. Because when you have energy, power, and you have water, rivers, then industrialization is just simple. And civilization.
So if you talk about industrialization, power must be cheap.
It must be cheap.
So if we can get power very cheap, factories will be there. So all the jobless, unemployed people, people come and set up bigger factories because of the cost of energy. So they will come in. So I think nuclear is something that we have to go for.
I just love this particular point that you've made. Yes, so, and I'm happy you came out with it, because I haven't seen any of the flag bearers or any of the leaders talking about nuclear, and I'm glad that that's a bold statement that you've made, and I hope the good people of Ghana will hearken to this vocal point that you've made, and then give you that needed support.
See, the thing is that everybody talks about jobs. If you set up a small factory, energy will collapse the factory because you can't afford it.
You can't afford it.
So we should be able to have a system whereby we will have good energy at a lower cost, so that people will set up industry.
Absolutely.
Then employment will come. Then prosperity will come to everybody.
Sure.
So it is very key.
Sure. So I know that I'm going to digress a bit, and I'm still going to be with the energy. The crisis that we had prior to your party coming to power, and Mary and all that you people have to put in place. Why do you think this government is having an issue to maintain it? Is there a problem?
Yes, obviously they were not the people who initiated it. So Ghana, in the kind of thinking that we have, because they didn't initiate it, they want to think there's some kind of bad deals or anything, bad deals in it. So, but I think that a Mary deal was a good one. At the moment, I think government is working on it, is dealing with the Mary.
Right. Anyway, I pray that we can come out with this nuclear to support what we have, and then also probably also wind, and then solar. Because I think we have lots of sunshine there. That could also help. All right, so we are trying to find solutions and to most of the plights of the people. Now, Honorable, let's move straight to when it comes to housing. This is something that really touched my heart when I visited the motherland. After a long time, growing up here, you go back and you see your people sleeping on the streets in kiosk at the mercy of mosquitoes. I felt a bit bad. I know, how would you address the housing situation and the housing shortages? And I'm not at all impressed with these titles and slogans and big promises where governments come in to say that they are doing what affordable housing. Okay, and this affordable housing, even the common man cannot even afford it or even rent. And I'm sure the government has to generate income. Okay, and I'm sure if you take the housing policy and look at it properly, affordable renting, housing schemes, policies can be implemented for the poor person to have an affordable rent that can also bring income to government too. What do you say about this?
You see, this housing problem, it's something that is on my radar. Why am I saying that? Because if you look at the young people who leave university, they meet a young lady or they meet a young man they want to marry, they still going to go and live with their parents because they can afford houses or flats to live. So government should be able to come up with an idea of, if you use the word affordable houses, it's buildings that are not that expensive to build. Because all those buildings that are expensive to build, these people cannot afford it. So we need to create 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom house like in UK here. You can get a council flat for 1 bedroom, a 2-bedroom for young couples to be able to live. So we will have to sort of research and go into what you call very cheap type of accommodation that people will be able to, cheap but quality.
Right. So I put it to you because I'm holding you to your time. Say, if you get the nod and you become the president, I mean, for me, the Fourth Estate, as part of the media fraternity, I'm speaking on behalf of the people, and I'm saying that cement, water, okay, and sand. The sand and the water is in abundance in our motherland. And so the cement, which Ghana government also has, which is GASEM, and I'm sure this building very affordable and cheap housing facilities for the poor to also be able to rent will be very, very noble and something that, I think should be easily done, because I see you are using the word that building is very expensive in Ghana. Why is it expensive? Something has to be done. Government has to come with policies to...
The thing is that we need to get a model.
Right.
A model that has been done elsewhere, that has made property very cheap. GASEM doesn't belong to Ghana. It's owned by a whole international chain. They only have a factory in Ghana.
I thought it was a PPP thing.
No. It's owned by a company called Heidelberg. It's one of the biggest cement company in the world. But the thing is that, yes, we have cement in Ghana, but we should be able to have model, because they use some panels to build houses. So that people can, because the way housing is in Ghana, it is a big issue.
It is a big issue. And also, let me link it to the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And once again, most of the media houses in Ghana have been bought by politicians, and they don't really come out to look at the issues, pressing issues that's affecting the common person. And so to have you as a young person who have the desire to bring that change as a game changer and take the plight of the people, that is why I'm putting it to you, how you are going to address these things. But that's what we need.
If you go to Brazil,
even
in the favelas, they found ways of building very cheap. In South Africa, you go to areas we call the location. They have done what you call cheap kind of brick building. We have to go and pick the models and come and replicate it in Ghana so that people can afford houses. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. And I agree with you that that should be done. And it's something that we would have to go and study and come and replicate it somewhere.
Yeah. So what's your view now with the way the gap between the rich and the poor, and it seems how are you going to bridge that gap?
The gap between rich and poor,
It's getting wider.
It is. I think this is an international issue.
Mm.
The whole world is looking at it. The thing is that if you create more jobs and people could afford and get paid well,
Sure.
the gap will be closed.
Sure.
It's all part of these issues that we're talking about. One, if we have good energy, more factories will come, people will earn money. So that gap can be closed and we come closer. Now, I'm talking about industrialized agriculture.
Sure.
Last week I went to Somaya area. Plenty mangoes, but they can't export.
Yeah.
It's getting rotten, so you're buying it very cheap. These are all things that a government in power should be able to look at it so that people will go into it, find ways of exporting those products for the people so they will enjoy and have good money. And this is what is going to bridge the gap.
Sure.
Because if, let's say, I've never seen any maize farm or mango farm that is a kilometer away. We should be able to do industrial farming so that people will go and make money and it will help people.
So the situation we have now as well, I saw the clip of the mango thing. The one lady was crying out, got loads of mango, couldn't get it to the city. Even transportation system to come pick them up is a problem. The fuel prices, once again, we've spoken about that a lot because of enormous experience in that area. And so they get the food to bring it to the cities, then the price will be hiked and people cannot afford it. All these things needs to be addressed. And for me, as you know, a young, very ambitious presidential or flag bearer aspirant, if you get the nod, the solution that you are going to bring to bridge these things and create jobs and all those things is really, really something that I'm more interested in, because the common person would then feel there's hope, you know, and I'm looking at the basic amenities for as a normal human being to live as a standard, you know.
You see, Ghanaians, what I've realized that Ghanaians don't like farming. It's only the normal small farming, but we're going to go to serious farming, industrialized farming, and mechanized one, so that we'll have plenty food to eat. We import tomatoes from Burkina. At times, even we import plantain from Ivory Coast. Now, if all these things are looked after, good farming, and we make sure that all the good areas where farming is done, you can bring the food into the cities, people will make good money. Nobody will jump into coming to live in an urban area. They want to stay in the rural and make money. And if people do that and they start making money, a lot of people will go back home into the rural areas and start farming.
Sure.
You have to open the avenue that farming will bring good money.
Right. So also I know that government does to generate revenue a lot. I feel that our revenue generation is also sometimes the government. You've been in government, but not the one to. You just have to implement the policy, because the policy formulation is done by wider, you know. So I cannot hold you to that. But should you get the nod, yeah, the very people that you represent, because I always say that politicians are there to work for the people. You see, I'm not of the belief that politicians through democracy, after they get a social contract from the people, because the people are the employers and they are employing the politicians who have come with their political party, and the people have given them mandate. So it's a social contract for them to perform for the people. And I'm saying that we need to look at all these issues that I'm discussing with you for the people to have hope in such a flag bearer or such a person, so that they know that this time it's not going to be a rhetorics, because they've had so much promises and so much rhetorics. i.e. the few things that we've discussed, including water, sanitation, all those things is very important, you know, and that will also increase the lifespan of our people, you know. So it's going to be a Herculean tax.
It is,
but
it's not that easy, but we're going to do it. You have to let the youth have hope. And my industrialized agriculture, it is what is going to stop. And a lot of unnecessary imports must be cut.
Right. So talking about those imports, why are we importing rice? As a presidential aspirant, flag bearer aspirant, have you got the guts and the grit to really withstand the pressures that will come from those unseen powers? Because sometimes we, the media personalities, also have to know that there are pressures that come from behind that sometimes lobby to get you people to just continue.
I mean, they're using a commodity like rice. What we grow in Ghana is not sufficient for our consumption.
So that's why we import.
That's why we import. But all I'm trying to say is that you have to encourage more rice farming so that you can decrease the importation up to a point. Because if you go drastically and say you're going to cut importation of rice, you're going to have a problem on your hand. So what you do is it's an encouragement. It's part of the industrialized agriculture I'm talking about. We grow. At the moment, everybody says, look, Ghana rice is very good. So we grow more rice. We expand the growth of rice. Then slowly, we cut the importation.
Fine. So with this, mechanized agriculture you are talking about, and we were looking at rice, we were looking at plantain, tomatoes, and all that. Why don't the states, like Kwame Nkrumah did, state farming?
No, I have a different
approach.
Okay.
And what is your approach?
My approach is that all the district assemblies, okay, like the farmer cannot afford, if you go to, let's say, the north, the rice farmers cannot afford, and the banks don't give them facility to buy, combined harvesters. So what you do is that the district assemblies should own one so that they rent it cheap to the people. So that every farmer could get a combined harvester at his or her disposal.
Right.
Because if we leave it to the farmers, they can't afford it. That is why the business becomes so boring. Because they can't afford it and it's difficult for them. But if the district, everybody, we have about 280 district assemblies. So they would buy the inputs, like the equipment. So they will own it and they will rent it to the farmers. So let's say in Tamale, all the rice farmers, we have about 4 district assemblies there. All the different, they will have 222 or 444, so that they can rent it, go and plow, do the this thing for them. Then they will be able, because if you say we should have state farms, Ghanaians will go and sit there and won't perform. But the equipment is there. Do your private farm, but the equipment is given to you on a rental basis. That is what they cannot afford, but now they can afford.
Okay, but I would tend to differ a bit. I support what you are saying. I support it 100%. With the district assemblies, the way you want to go, it still comes down to the state.
No, you see, the state-owned farms,
yes,
the state-owned farms, they are going to buy everything, they are going to, but with the district assemblies, they have the equipment.
Right, and who controls the district? Isn't it the state?
Yeah, it's a state.
So in a way, it's
no, it's only equipment.
Right.
Your produce, you do your produce, and you sell it.
Right. Now, I'm with you. Okay. All I'm trying to say is that notion that government agencies cannot perform, or states industries cannot perform. Don't you think that probably it's a negative image that has been there? You didn't implement it. That is what is there. Is there something that you can do to change that? Because we saw that from the JJ era when it came. The ministries and all those people were performing.
It is all leadership.
Sure.
the way you talk to them and the way you look at their leadership and how they should perform.
Sure. So I think that can be done.
It can be done, but
and that can also generate revenue.
Yes. You don't want a situation where you go and create state farms again. Then it's like you have to new employ people. The district assemblies, they have their own people. The private farmers have their own farms, they have their own labor.
Right.
All you're giving them is to be able to enhance their work. So you go to the district assembly, they have 5 combined harvesters. You rent it, they go and do the work for you, you come back.
Fine.
Then you do your produce.
I get it. That can work.
Yeah.
But why should the state also just leave it for just the private?
No, see, the private.
Why can't the state also? We used to have the state farms.
You want to take
State involvement.
Headache from government, because government's involvement, you have to save money for government.
But is it the same private people? I'm of the view that probably we need to have both, state and private working together, because I'm of the view that at the end of the day, these private people will still go and borrow money, and if they cannot pay the money, the
So
state
where are
has
they going
to
to borrow? The state
the state has to borrow, absorb the monies they borrow from whichever bank, whether private banks or government banks. The state has to still absorb the.
So hear me out.
Yeah.
That is why I'm saying that it is the district assembly who have the equipment, the tractors.
Right.
So the farmer doesn't have a problem of going to buy a tractor.
Fair enough. What about
combined harvesters?
Right.
So you rent to them at a lower fee.
Sure.
Which is like government will take part as the cost so that they can perform and they can do it.
I don't have a problem with that.
So if they do that,
but why do you leave it only in the hands of the private, and the
the
government
private
itself
people
doesn't want to also partake in also having state farms alongside the laudable point you are also suggesting?
With state farms,
Yeah.
you're going to employ people, and
It's creating jobs, isn't it?
they're creating jobs, but you see, people go there and they don't perform.
Why wouldn't they perform? If there is a strict leadership, management is there for efficiency, you don't perform, you get sacked. I mean, you've lived in Europe, you've lived almost most of your growth or grown-up life here.
Rome was not built. Rome was not built in a day.
Right.
So as you go slowly, you see the problem, then you solve them.
Okay. Right.
So, but industrial agriculture is the key.
Okay. So once again, my beautiful audiences worldwide, I'm speaking to once again the Honorable Kojo Bonsu on the ABL television. Please share and subscribe and make sure our listeners and of course family members, friends also hearken to this great interview tackling the problems and issues of Mother Ghana and Africa, because some of these solutions can trickle down to the other parts of Africa as well. And with your experience, global experience, I would say, I mean, it's so much experience you have from other parts of the world that I know you can really bring into the country that can help improve the economy and also revenue generation as well. Yeah. Let's turn our attention now to looking at, apart from agriculture, which you have, I want us to also look at this very pressing issue. We've looked at the housing, we've looked at electricity, sorry, and then we've looked at agriculture. Now, the education bit is also something that I want us to look at. Why is it that we have a very good system? I know at the moment it's a bit made a bit, okay? Why doesn't our graduates and graduates be put through this type of, should I say, where we have facilities that can really train them, so that they can come out with solutions and staffs that can help the country, because everything we have to buy from abroad, finished product from abroad. And for me, I think, government spends all the money educating the people, and they end up, most of them also, majority end up abroad, where the Western world will then use the brains that they've got you know, and then when they want to come to retirement, some of them then will go back to Ghana. Why can't we have all these, you know, institutions, you know, like we have tech? Why can't we create other institutions that will be looking at, you know, coming out with, you know, tests and, you know, things like that? We need to
see. That's a very good point about education. My policy for health and education is totally different. Why am I saying that? Because this government will come and do free SHS. Then the next government will come and say, no, I don't want it. I want to better it. I want to do this. I want to do this. So I believe that with education, there should be a conference of the two parties, plus all the parties should come, so that we agree on one thing. So that one, nobody will come and change it and make it. So we all have an agreement. The reason why we're having too many problems there is because Party A comes, they come and do what they want. Party B comes, they come to do what they want. Party C, here to come to, they want to do. So we all have to agree that, look, gentlemen, the NPP, the NDC, the CPP, we have a serious compromise saying that, look, as for our education, this is the system and this is the style we are going. We don't want a situation where you come and say this is no. We all agree, and that's how it goes. It will make education very better. All the issues you're talking about will follow, and it will make it good. But because the two strong parties are not talking and are not handling it, that is where the problem is.
Now, let's stick with education and the health. With your experience, you know that I can get up and go to the NHS and I'll be taken good care of. And if I'm unemployed and I'm on the income support or what we call universal credit, my tablets and my medicine will be given free. Why can't we have total and absolute NHIS in Ghana without any registration, because the people are Ghanaians, and as Ghanaians, the resources and the wealth of the country, they need to benefit from a free
You see,
Why can't we have one?
You want to compare Ghana to here. This country is a welfare state. Now, pardon, excuse me.
It's okay. There's water though.
This country is a welfare state.
Sure.
Ghana is not.
Sure.
So if you want to adapt things here and do the same thing that we're doing here, it will be difficult. But you need to build it slowly. You need to come up with something that the people will be happy, because medication is very expensive. The doctors are very expensive and everything. So yes, we can come up with a proper insurance plan for health that every individual in Ghana would enjoy. But we cannot do as we are doing here, that people go for free medication, free hospitalization. It's expensive to do.
Well, I mean, I believe that Ghana has so much resources, and if it is harnessed well, we can have that.
Yeah.
Because you see, with this Western world, they weren't rich when they had the welfare state. It was after the Second World War, and it was super, total poverty.
That they had discipline.
They are disciplined. So it's about leadership.
Leadership and discipline in
Sure.
the country. So if we're able to go that way,
Yeah.
we will do. Look, Singapore had the same problem. Singapore was even worse than
Yeah, but
Ghana.
they had a good leadership.
So you go back to the point.
So I'm trying to bring out that type of leadership in you. That have you got that type of leadership to say yes, and for the people? And if we say NHIS is going to be free, it's going to be free. We don't want rhetorics, and then at the end of the day we cannot implement it. And I'm speaking on behalf of the people and in the diaspora and in Ghana, so that at least they know that they have a young, vibrant leader who doesn't mince his words.
You see, you're not here. I'm not here to come and talk this thing.
Sure.
We're going to build a new system. We're going to build a new country. discipline is very important, leadership is key, and how we do our things. I mean, let me give you something that I believe. We have discipline problems in Ghana.
How do we solve that?
Discipline challenges.
Yes.
So I have said to myself that if I get the note, every student, your national service, you do military, 2 years military national service.
I like that, yeah.
Now, if you do 2-year military national service,
With discipline.
you pick up discipline.
Sure.
It will trickle down slowly. And with maybe 10 years of that, you see that the discipline will change.
Sure.
So the military that we are spending money, if you're an accountant, you go there, go and pay. If you're a teacher, you still will go through the military training. So national service, 2 years for everybody.
That's great. I like that policy. And also the brain drain, we've touched on it already. I think the institutions I'm talking about is research institutions so that we can start implementing things ourselves for our people and for ourselves.
You're right. All these things are going to come when you look at the discipline part, with integrity, with peace, with understanding. The prosperity for all will come from there.
Right.
You will start enjoying it.
So my last two questions, as we are hard pressed with time, and I know you'll be going back very shortly. We hope we will be coming back more because this is your second home. It used to be your first home. You've now made it your second home. Right. You'll be coming more, and I'm sure we can get more.
Anytime, I'm ready to answer questions.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. My two final questions is that please, I'm will be very happy for you to implement that various research institutions, whether private or government, in support of the various universities, so that a lot of these brain drains will not be happening. And we need revenue to sustain all these things. How are you going to stop our ministers from importing all these Land Cruisers and all those things so that we can save money, and you allow them to drive Toyota Corolla Rada like Magafuli did in Tanzania and save the country so much money? Also, I'm giving you a two-part question so that we can run up. And then also, how are you going to stop the traveling of the president taking almost 40 people into entourage to travel abroad, and private jet hiring, and the hotel, Waldorf Hotel, that costs over $5,000 a night. Some of this unnecessary expenditure, how are you going to cut them down so that at least the state can save money and not a rhetoric to say a guardian of the state purse, whilst is the opposite? How are you going to implement all this?
You see, it is very, very easy to do. It is all, we keep saying, leadership. There's exorbitant and excess expenditure will be cut. I'm not going to sit on television to say, I'll come and do this, I'll come and do this, no. But I have all the brains to make sure that the excessive spending is cut. Excessive spending will be cut. I mean, let me give you an example. The Queen moves in a convoy with how many cars? 3 cars.
3.
With 2 dispatch riders.
Sure, it's true.
Can it not be done? Because if you move with 19 to 20 Land Cruisers, you have 2 people in each. You have 40 people. 40 people, you still, wherever you go, you give them hotel.
Well, then last time I was counting in Ghana, it was 43.
So times 2 drivers in the car.
It is
too expensive.
Right. I may be surprised.
When we get there, we'll cross it.
Right. Okay. So
very important.
It's very, very interesting, and I'd like to seize this opportunity to thank my crew members. But before I do that, I'd like to give you the final word and assurances from those of us in the diaspora and back home, those watching us worldwide, and especially those of us here. What's your final word? And when are you coming back for us to have the part 2, part 3, part 4 before the
Anytime, my brother. See, let me tell people, it's all about change. This country, our country, Ghana, we need people who've done it before, who can perform, and who could make Ghanaians be happy. I'm not here to come and say a whole lot of unnecessary things, but I believe that if we are able to cut down costs of presidency, cost of living with the presidency, a lot can be done. But all I can assure is that, look, come and support me for us to change the status quo in Ghana. If we change, you see that you are having the president that you're looking for. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking to Honorable Kojo Bonsu. Yes, and of course, you heard it from himself. He's going to make sure that we cut costs, of course. And you know, ABL Television, those of us in the media fraternity, alongside some of our sister stations like Voice of London Radio and the likes, will make sure we follow through with them and make sure all the promises, we are going to hold them to their thank, so that at least for the first time, we're going to have a leader and leadership that is held accountable and that the people can have faith in and that can address many issues. And I'm sure Kojo is one of our own. You know, we lived there with him and of course growing up and everything. So we are happy that one of our own can also become flag bearer and then eventually the president, and we can relate. And so probably through that, with his experience growing up in the United Kingdom and traveling widely across the globe, we'll be able to implement some of these things that can bring enormous changes, okay? And I'm sure that when he took office, we saw some few things he did at the GOIL. We saw the way he also handled KMA. And you know, when you are telling the truth and bringing change, sometimes affects certain authorities and leaders, and then they might be displeased. But these are types of leaders we need that can confront without any fear or favor. Yes, so we thank once again Honorable Kojo Bonsu. We thank you, our listeners, listening to us and watching us live across the global world. I also like to thank our technical team, Sergey. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank the great Elder Dankwa. We thank the great Nana Asibe behind the scene crew, and the beautiful Lady Ginger herself, talking about Georgia, great Akoto Bonsu, and all the crew members behind the scene. We thank you so much. My name is Nana OSAGY4. God bless you. We look forward in having